There we go. So I came out here with the chitlins. We're walking up this way. I've got a yellow jacket who seems to think that I've got something. Boy, is he going to be disappointed. The children are wearing their hats. They're netting. We'll see how long they keep it on before they decide that the bugs are worse than the hat that they're being forced to wear. But anyways, so what have we been doing? Well, we got these. They're used, obviously. We don't buy anything new here. We don't even buy our solar panels new. So, nothing is new. We got those, filled them up from the creek water with a little pump that we had gotten when I was pregnant for the birthing pool. And been working on that. I'm going to end up building a garden shed with the same concept that I've built this summer coop. I just realized that I forgot to water two things. Sunflowers. Been composting the giant compost pile that eventually we will fill up with manure, hopefully that we can get from somebody. We got one farmer who said he'd get it. He would sell it to us. We just got to get down there, and that's usually my husband's domain because that's his buddy. And yeah, it's been you start realizing when you're dealing with these people, they know what's going on. They may not articulate it or understand all of the ins and outs of it, but they know what's going on, and they're preparing accordingly. Now, when I show you this garden, no, it's not the prettiest raised bed area, but it is not done. As a matter of fact, we fit in so much with Maine right now because it looks like, you know, a Maine town. If you know anything about Maine and what it looks like when you drive through it, you'll understand. Yes, all of that is down there. Eventually, there will be wood chippings, and it'll be pretty. And I'll have a garden shed to put the crap in, and it won't look as bad. But that is what I've been working on. We bought manure and peat moss because I figured it was going to get tight with fertilizer supplies when winter was still here. It was like right when it was just enough that way they could unthaw it from the little Lowe's place. It was like, yeah, get it. Because the thought of being able to get it afterwards that we are finding now is like, I don't think they're going to, give up as much compost as you think they're going to do. And we need a lot to start the raised bed. We had one guy tell us it was $60 per truckload, and not like, a dump truck size, like a little pickup. I was like, oh, yeah, you need way more than just one when you're starting a raised bed. It's just, yeah. And then realizing, and you probably are going to figure it out too, or that you already have figured it out, that people are just getting busy. If they're doing gardening, they're not sitting in front of the boob tube. If they're watching this video, it's one, you probably like me, or you actually have some downtime and it probably automatically played. When you get busy, and the busyness isn't because it's I want to do something fun. It's more of a survival thing, although I should say I actually enjoy gardening, so it's not the worst. But it's something you have to do. And if you're going to have an abundance of food, you're going to do it right, and you're going to do it and take your time. That's just how it is. Oh, here are my chickens. My handsome rooster. This is the concept. If you can't see, obviously, it's pretty much a cage on the inside. And then I've just put sticks and laid them across the studs that are in there to keep stuff out. And it has made it quite solid. And cheaper. Because I got a whole bunch of sticks. So there's a cage wrapped in sticks with obviously an actual roof to keep them out of it. But it is the reason why we call it the summer coop. Obviously, the winter coop is, much better insulated and much better at protecting them from the elements. Whereas summer coop, they're just trying not to be hot. Oh wow, he still has his hat on. So the other thing that I've been doing is, when I do have some moments, is I've been reading this book, and I cannot remember her name, the author. I feel bad about that, but I'm sure if you just look up A Distant Mirror, you'll find the author. She's written quite a few historical books on the times, and this particular one is prior to the beginning of the Black Death and then through the Black Death, and I believe into the 15th century or 16th century. Yeah, pretty much it's covering what has happened during the Black Death. And you find that these royalties, that all of them, I just call them the elite class, they took from the poor, or their underclassmen. It just took from them. They leached off of them. Now, they had hard money back then, so it was much more brutal, because a poor man's going to try and hold on to as much as he can just to survive. And the people today that are the elites, well, they've got a printing press, so they literally don't have to bring a sword to your neck and kill you to take what you have, because that is literally what they were doing after, pretty much prior to the Black Death, and then after it became like the thing to do, is they would pillage neighboring countries to steal from the people their wealth, which precious metals, commodities, horses, cows, sheep, anything you could think of that, was survival and you could use, an asset. And that's what they did constantly. Thousands, if they didn't die from the Black Death, they were dying from being butchered by the upper classes coming through and pillaging, as they put it. We were pillaging. It was a way of life. It was a job. That was how they did it. And it's kind of like what you do now. It's pillaging, but they've got a printing press and they fight over things so they can just have stuff. And it never changes. And I look at this whole thing with our pandemic, try not to get this taken off, and the Black Death then. The Black Death wasn't an IQ test. It was like, you got it, whether you could avoid it or not, because they just didn't have that ability. There's you got it or not, you didn't. It wasn't, you know what, I just don't believe these psychos that are trying to stick me with a needle, and my IQ test is apparently much higher than the guy who decided to go get 4 and 5 shots. So now that we're going through this part, a lot of what happened in the distant mirror, I don't think is going to happen this time. Just for the simple reason that the stupid and the propagandized and those easily swayed and those that refuse to fight for their own rights are voluntarily killing themselves off. And that's the new world that we're going to be in. Probably a lot of peace. And because they're much more intelligent than the people that died off, and then from the Black Death, where it seemed like the idiots were in charge, it'll be better.